Hi there, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Today it will be of your interest as I reveal to you one of the biggest ongoing problems within the case itself. On top, some of the latest responses by Candice Cooley regarding Dylan Rounds' case and the past with certain evidence. Upon reading it myself, doesn't quite sit right. Unless I've missed out on something, if you stick around, you may pick up on it as well. I'll do a brief introduction right now to this video. Welcome those that are currently here in this live premiere. For those who are present, be sure to let me know your thoughts, opinions and reactions in the live chat box right hand side of the screen. If you wish to leave any additional comments or if you've got any questions, or if you're watching on catch up and you want to react, make sure to leave a comment down below under this video. You will also find a pinned comment by me with some additional links if you wish to check them out, and if you want to support the channel in an alternative way, it's all available there. And top right corner of the screen, click on the I symbol to catch up on some of the previous videos that I've covered. In case you've missed out on any, make sure to check them out because there has been recent coverage on this case once again by me, and you can let me know your thoughts there. So recently, I'd say it's been okay when covering this case. Of course, a lot quieter than normal, and maybe some people have departed with time. Natural selection, stamina war, whatever it may be, but I'm still here and there are things to cover. Shout out to the people that keep on coming back and showing up, whether they're busy or not. It's good of them. And even Andrew Culver, that does pop in when he can. That's good to see because he's been around for a long time, such as Glenn and some others too. So right now, the order of how things are going to play out today, I'm going to present to you the latest post by Candice Cooley in recent time and another response to a question. I'm going to read through that, analyse if necessary, try to make sense of it, and then once that's done, can transition on to me revealing to you the biggest ongoing problem in the Dylan Rounds case, and then there'll be some sideline things to talk about as well. In addition, maybe I can do it as a community post. I forgot to do it in the last video. With it coming up and getting near to the 18th of February, that's the day of my birthday. So whether it be on the day or the day before, I'll try and make a video, more of a light-hearted one, maybe a map one, not done it for a long time, and get it out there so there's a live premiere. And if people want to join in, watch along, can do so. It will be a light-hearted video and people can mess around if they wish to. So the likes of Dale or Matt Lingo, the chains are off, no holds barred. So that should be good news to most people out there. Just wanted to let people know as for what's coming up and whether I can be there or not, I'll try to. But let's dial that back for now and focus back on Dylan Rounds because it hasn't quite reached the 18th yet of February. So without further ado, let's get straight into this video and begin analysing on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page. Here we are, Dylan's legacy page, also once known as Find Dylan Rounds. We scroll down just a bit, we will see it 8th of February, recent time by Candice Cooley. I think most of the text will show up there. Let me just double check. Right, yeah. The reason why I did that is because the last post I read out, it was missing some of the writing. But as for the comment section, it's not so much important here. There was one response by Justin Rounds we'll get to eventually. But Candice Cooley said here, "We fully understand that there are so many people who want Dylan Rounds home and Brenner to be fully prosecuted, and we are eternally grateful for that. With that being said, I would like to give people who feel the need to make comments like Brenner needs to be hung, let me in the cell, give him truth serum, make him talk, and so on. See how these comments do not help us as a family. We have a justice system in place in our country, and none of that stuff is possible. If it was, do you think Justin Rounds and I would not have taken those measures already? I have let comments and posts on that in the Missing in America network would usually strike out. I've done this to show the turmoil that a family can go through with an open Facebook page in a time like this. please keep these comments to yourself. They do not help any family in a crisis. For all of the positive supporters, you are a rock for us, and thank you. So, we've seen the comments, haven't we already? We saw that person previously saying we should give him the truth serum. Who was it? Was it that person called Catherine Harder Smith? No. Completely different person that. As I said, can't remember everybody's name, of course, but I do remember someone mentioning about a truth serum, and others thought, God, what's going on there? Obviously, the bit about, one-on-one with Brenner, we'll make him talk or release him out here and we'll get him to confess. And to be honest, it's just, does it help? No, it doesn't. It might show a level of support that people are out looking out for Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, and wanting to get the truth, but all it would do is cause more problems than it's worth. It'd be against the law. It might even damage the case, and it might collapse on itself. So then overall, no justice can be met. And with forcing a confession out of somebody, it just isn't natural, and it just doesn't work like that. So yeah, it's understandable. It's interesting though that Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds said, if on the basis it was allowed, then don't you think we would have done that already? What exactly? Make Brenner speak or hang him like a public execution? That's kind of interesting. But nevertheless, I guess Candice Cooley is just saying, if people say this type of negative stuff, it really doesn't get anywhere, so it's best keeping it to yourself. That's not coming from me, that's just what Candice Cooley said. Now, scrolling on down, it's just like a load of support as you would expect, which is positive. But I need to try and find one by Justin Rounds. So, if you can see on screen, towards the bottom, on Wednesday, Justin Rounds said, couldn't have said it better. So Justin Rounds wholeheartedly agrees with what Candice Cooley has said. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you briefly is just to show that Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds, regardless of what's happened in the past and what experts say in the background, Justin Rounds seems to be on side with Candice Cooley and independently agreeing with her. Not being forced to, not being brainwashed, right? It appears natural, which is somewhat good to see. When people are on the same side as one another in a natural way, that's always a positive. Now, scrolling on down, we should get to the next one by Kay saying, did the police ever try to retrieve the GPS data, or as Americans say, data, from Dylan's truck? Hope he's found and returned to his family. So I assume when they're saying Dylan's truck, they mean Dylan's pickup truck, not the grain truck, right? Now, before we click on the comments, at least from what I'm aware of, and maybe you are too, correct me if I'm wrong, or add on if you've learnt more since. The last thing I really remember about Dylan's truck is initially broken into by Justin Rounds' back window. Candice Cooley was there, and supposedly a sheriff or detective was too, and stood back, let it happen. Fast forward onwards, but the thumbs up green light was given by the LE for a family member or a friend to get in Dylan's truck and drive it back to wherever, to a family's place, so they're in possession of it and can keep it safe. But in doing so, unaware to the family or friend that the data, the GPS, the black box, whatever you want to call it, which tracks the mileage of the vehicle, the last 100 miles, and where it's been, where it's visited, right? That was all lost. As soon as the vehicle was moved and driven, the previous 100 miles were destroyed, lost. And that was it, game over. Fast forward onwards, supposedly there was some kind of effort made by Candice Cooley and maybe another individual or authority in which they were trying to estimate or track the amount of distance that would have taken place with Dylan Rounds leading up to Dylan's death, or at least on the day of it all unfolding. Do people remember that? I did some kind of map analysis where we was looking at the last, 59, 60 miles, trying to add up the total distance from Lucin to Montello and back, working out the distance there, 19 miles there or back, 26 miles at max, shortcuts along the way. Granted, it might have not been the best video by me, but at the time, just working with what we had, and it was more so in the earlier stages of when covering the case, right? Maybe with less information and knowledge in general. So I did what I could at the time. I think maybe the initial first video that I made on the distance was incorrect, so I made a corrected version at a later point, and it was just trying to figure out or estimate where one could have gone in a certain amount of time and distance, which then totals the total distance of the original estimated distance which Candice Cooley drew up herself and / or with authorities at the time. Do people remember that in general? Does it check out here? John, praying for family. Candice Cooley says, in response to the original question, did the police ever try to retrieve the GPS from Dylan's truck, which was inevitably lost when it was driven away from by family or friends when the police gave him a thumbs up? That GPS data was lost initially. And Candice Cooley says, yes, the GPS truck data of Dylan's pickup truck was recovered by Bonneville County Sheriff's Office in Idaho, not Box Elder. Now, I believe it was Box Elder, LE, that gave the thumbs up in the first place for the vehicle to be driven away from the place, and that's what inevitably led to the data being lost in the first place. Emily says, the Bonneville Police Department is so awesome. I'm glad they did that. I live in Idaho Falls and the police force around here always impresses me. Candice Cooley says they are truly amazing and offered assistance in any way they could in Dylan's case. It's just too unfortunate that Box Elder was able to decline all the help they were offered. Maybe that applies to Texas EquiSearch, Bloodhound Unit, drones or pilots, etc. Additional resources like that. So, to some people, this may not come as a surprise, but at least from what I remember, I just wasn't aware or fully aware, or I couldn't recollect my thoughts exactly. So they're saying that Dylan's GPS truck data was recovered. So that would mean they know where Dylan's truck went, right? The locations. And maybe, well, likely revealing when and where Dylan's truck was last used. On the 28th? I don't know. But if it was used on the 28th and its GPS data was recovered, well then that would mean it would reveal the location of where that truck ended up and possibly reinforce that it was used in disposing of Dylan rounds. If that truly was the case, then surely you would track that GPS data to the final spot or on the final route before it returned back to Dylan's farm and just go along those roads or off the beaten pathway and, I don't know, do searches there, right? Because that was the original question, trying to work out what happened to Dylan's truck. Was it used, yes or no? Did it tie in line with Dylan's truck being cleaned down in some way, yes or no? Was the inside of the truck adjusted in some way because another person was using it to get about, yes or no? A few unanswered questions, some contrasting with other points of views, and from what experts have said out there, it kind of differs from Candice Cooley and Justin Round's initial story. So it does get a little bit messy at times. Let me just transition back onto my face when talking about this. I'll just scroll back up one more time. If you do want to pause the video, you can. If you want to rewind it back. Basically, if you just joined in, Kay, a member on Dylan's Legacy page, asked Candice Cooley, did the police retrieve the lost GPS data from Dylan's truck? The pickup one, I assume. And Candice Cooley said, yes, it was done by Bonneville County Sheriff's Office in Idaho. Now, call me late to the party, but it just feels like this is the first time I've ever really heard about this. Because the last thing I remember was Candice Cooley saying how they've estimated the total distance or mileage leading up to the outcome of Dylan Rounds and maybe shortly after as well in the possible disposing. I do remember in the past there was those arguments made by Candice Cooley that the pickup truck must have gone into a wash or driven through one, and that's why it was muddy and dirty underneath the wheels and stuff, and why it was supposedly washed down by somebody that may have operated that vehicle. This is like early talk from back then, and some of which maybe has been debunked or has been countered by other points of views and possible locals as well. Okay, I understand. But in terms of actually being able to recover the original GPS data of Dylan's truck, I would say that's a very important feature, a very important piece of evidence. Am I right in saying that that's never been mentioned before by Candice Cooley, it being recovered and retrieved? Maybe I wasn't listening in properly, but genuinely, and I'm being honest, I don't remember this being mentioned in the past. News articles, interviews, etc. All I remember was it was lost, and then attempts were made to recover it by estimating, piecing it together. But the way it's worded here, it seems officially they've got the original piece of evidence. And the reason why I say it's important and why I have highlighted it in the past I was highlighting it as a missed opportunity. Because if you believe, if you know, whichever, that the truck, the pickup one, may have been used in disposing of Dylan rounds, well, you'd think wherever that truck goes on the 28th or the 29th of May 2022, it would have been used after Dylan's death, first of all, and it would have been operated by another person, likely. So wherever that truck went on those days, surely that's the direction you go in when trying to recover Dylan rounds. Isn't that correct? Has it already been done in the background? Maybe, but there's not been any word or talk that Dylan has been recovered yet, so was it a success or not? But, you know, if the truck was used in disposing of Dylan, wherever that truck went, whichever direction it went in, more so there rather than back. If it was coming back, then it's probably done the job and disposed of Dylan, if that's the case. Have investigations already happened then, and searches? Besides the pond, besides Dylan's farm, Grainshed property, where did Dylan's truck go? What does the true GPS data of Dylan's truck reveal? Where? When? On the day of Dylan's death or the day after? That would be of great use to the case. I'm sure they may have fully utilised it already by now. Unless, because there was no date given by that Bonneville County Police group in which when they helped and when they recovered it. I mean, to reflect back on when it came to Dylan Round's phone in the early days, when it was found at the pond around June 18th, June 19th, around that period, Lucin Pond. At first, phone recovered, not much found on the phone, nothing strange, nothing unusual. Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds agreed. Outright said that early on in the days of the East Idaho News coverage and interviews. That's what was said. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing found on Dylan's phone. And maybe you could have believed it at the time. Fast forward onwards, around November 14th, that digital forensic analysis ended up somehow pulling out the time-lapse footage from Dylan's phone. Wasn't seen or recovered back then, when the family tried cloning the phone and looking at it for information or clues. No, it needed a forensic dive upon it. And look what it revealed. Some groundbreaking evidence and material, very, very important, but also revealed publicly. That's the key thing. I can understand, just in general, in a case like this, important evidence, not everything can be mentioned publicly. I get that. But there have been occasions where very important evidence has been revealed publicly. And it just makes you think, is there a hierarchy of importance or not? When some important things are talked about publicly, though some lesser important things are kept private. It might just be the way it is. I'm not an expert, but it's just a pattern I've noticed. Okay. But anyway, reverting back to Bonneville. If for whatever reason, and if it's never been mentioned before, at least from my memory, I said, everybody in the chat watching this video, let me know if you already knew about this. If you already knew about Dylan's truck data GPS being recovered successfully after it was initially lost in the first place. Let me know if you already know about that, because this is the first time I've really heard about it. Okay? Could I be slow in here when picking up on stuff? Maybe at times. Am I late to the party? Maybe. But if we can try and get an understanding right now, that will be appreciated, okay? Because I've always felt that the truck data was important when it comes to the possibility of tracking down where Dylan Rounds was buried. Now, if at the end of the day, the truck wasn't used or there's no data on the 28th or the 29th, no movement at all, then yeah, you'd probably reinforce it and say that the truck never left, was never used in disposing of Dylan. So it would lead to a dead end, but at least it would be ticked off the list and debunked, right? So either it can go to a new lead or it can be ticked off the list. That's my line of thought. And I do feel that if the truck was used and if it went in a direction, that's the way you should go and follow it up to a certain point. Maybe once it reached a pause, a stop point, or it then decided to turn around, that might be the hot spot, okay? With recently Candice Cooley appearing on Profiling Evil and saying, I don't know if it'll tie directly in line, okay? But recently, Candice Cooley mentioned on Profiling Evil, summertime 2024, new searches, new locations to check out, with getting a better grasp of the, was it RTT data in general, of phones, I guess. Could that also apply for GPS as well, such as Dylan's truck? Because what I would come down to here, and I don't have all the answers right now because this is a pre-recorded video, let's just say if nobody knew about this to begin with and it's recent, this GPS being recovered, if it's recent and it's only been talked about now, and then Candice Cooley is saying we've got a better grasp and idea of tracking GPS, RTT data in general, one could link to the other, which then leads up new leads and opportunities for the future to search during summertime, which could be the routes the truck took in maybe disposing of Dylan. So I just wanted to highlight that to you right now. Genuinely, I'm not quite sure how I'll title this video, because if it's old news, it doesn't look good. Maybe I'll just try and think of another title, or I'll just call it the original title of the big problem in this case. I'll work it out eventually. But I just want to know your thoughts on this matter. And in general, I just wanted to share with you the latest post by Candice Cooley, because I know other people don't always do that. So you can see it straight from the individual. And of course, with less interviews nowadays, you won't be able to hear her or see her as much, but if there's other ways of looking at it, then this is always available for you. And as I said, you saw Justin Rounds agreeing, nodding his head, independently agreeing, which is natural to see, I guess. So let's put that aside. And let's now talk about one of the biggest ongoing problems within the Dylan Rounds case. What we also need to put aside are the obvious issues. The fact that Dylan has not been found, recovered yet, and the fact that justice hasn't been delivered yet, and it's ongoing, and Brenner not reached trial yet, nor has confessed, which would have made everything a lot easier and quicker to get on with. Yes, they're obvious issues and still need to be fixed and addressed, etc. But put that aside. Besides that, what is the biggest ongoing problems in the case, in the community, and what's remained consistent? And that is so-called experts and supposedly real experts who are either from the area of Lucin, Montello, or further afar, and those who may be further afar but are in direct contact with key sources within. These individuals that come along, pop up out of nowhere, may appear on panels, channels, call-ins, live chats, comment sections, on my videos, and further elsewhere, from Pancake's channel community to Jim Terry's maybe, Bob Farrell's, Twin Mamas, and further afar. These experts that show up with a lot of information and a lot to talk about, and they have the expectation or maybe the hope, wishes that people will nod their heads and believe in what they say. But this is just text or a little voice from online. Is it enough to believe in? Let me share with you now a formal written extract paragraph summarizing the true nature of this, the overall idiocracy of idiosyncratic nature of reactions of individuals. Okay? I've summarized it. It should be clear for you to listen. You can listen or you can pause it, read it for yourself. But I'm just simply going to read out to you a recent post by myself summarizing it. You may wonder why now, just why in general? Because the problem is still ongoing and it's taken time for me to grasp it truly, right? I've never been able to put it into perfect words or sentences until now. And whilst in the past on individual topics and subjects like the key fob gun, I've not been able to fully speak out because I may have not known the full picture or the true behaviour and patterns of humans. It's a process, it takes time. What I do acknowledge, before we go any further, so everyone fully understands, because it's very important people do, there'll be communities and audience members out there further afar, and some that were present here for a period of time and then moved on, as we know, who have been convinced by these experts and what they've got to say. And I just think it just doesn't quite sit too well, because at the end of the day, these people online, other individuals that have different opinions, points of views, who seem to show or know that they've got a form of common sense, and yet they can be easily convinced by another individual just like that. It just seems a bit too easy, right? Just like, because I've seen it myself with the Kenny Veach case, how a person can just pop up online, appearing as the girlfriend, you got to take their word for it, and the girlfriend says, oh, I've been with Kenny Veach, this happened, that happened, Kenny suicidal, Kenny mental health, the end, blah, 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 blah. The amount of audience members over time externally fell for it without the real truth or facts, which were later revealed and exposed on my channel. And all those other people out there are still brainwashed, okay, and still falling for it. I believe that's the same case within the Dylan Rounds community. There are people out there, audience members, that are falling so easily for these experts, right? And there might be truth in it, but it's the act of agreeing with it so quickly or so easily. No defensiveness, no resistance, no negotiations, nothing, right? If someone said, okay, I've listened to what you've got to say, but I would like to hear it from the direct source to reconfirm stuff, to reinforce it, wouldn't that make more sense, right? It's just not happened here. So to put it in better words and set a clearer tone, let me show you this key paragraph by me posted recently on my community page. Here we are, so posted 15 hours ago on my community page. I basically said, the reality of the Dylan Rounds case, one of the biggest ongoing issues, besides the waves of disruption, gossip, and obvious degenerates creating misinformation from day one, there are experts that seem to know a lot and talk a lot about the case, such as knowing who truly killed Dylan Rounds, that Dylan Rounds never went to the shed, made it there on the 28th, that bodily fluids were found in the shed, that Brenner is innocent, etc. And even that Dylan Rounds never called the grandmother but only texted, right? Whether it be important or simple, corrections have been made. But these experts, they speak on behalf of others, for example, Justin Rounds, or those that knew Dylan Rounds in some way or another, etc. For example, in quotes, Justin already knows about this or that calls have been made in the background to that person who was once around Dylan, etc. Yet the likes of Candice Cooley are supposedly left in the dark, such as with the gun and the key fob being taken by Dylan's brother and friend, supposedly, and supposedly returned and cleaned of evidence by Larry Rounds, the grandfather of Dylan. Is that a sign of a breakdown in communication? So not everybody is on board with the same information? Or is it a trust issue with Candice Cooley? That other family members don't trust Candice Cooley with the real truth? I wonder. At the end of the day, if humans are meant to trust these third-party experts, whether they're from Lucen, Montello, or further afar, why can't the original source, the original person with that information, step up and publicly reveal it themselves and the true story? Why can't that happen? As for possible questions as to why, does the original source rely on third-party people online to do the speaking because the original person feels too ashamed or embarrassed to do so? Or are they keeping quiet for legal reasons? Though the latter question would demonstrate contradictions if the third-party person speaks out, thus harming the case and going against the wishes of the family. So it's likely not that. Or are the third-party experts taking matters into their own hands and making it all up unbeknownst to the family and friends of Dylan? Maybe changing the narrative. Experts wish to be trusted, yet no hard evidence is ever provided. Yet we're expected to take their word for it online in text-based chats, comment sections, and call-ins. All these channels that do talk, default profiles or not, they never provide videos themselves, and they never upload photos either, or screenshots or text messages as proof. That it's just all in words, it's not good enough. In addition, from a different angle perspective, most of the truths mentioned by these experts, corrected from the original story, have never been highlighted by Justin Rounds nor Candice Cooley in interviews, news articles, until this day no corrections have been made. Despite third-party experts at times quoting that they got the information from these key individuals, thus reiterating my original point, why can't the original sources come forwards and reveal it themselves? Why are they relying on third-party people, right? Now, on other occasions, some experts that have received inside information and intel from non-family members who once knew Dylan Rounds, though they never make the effort in informing the family of Dylan Rounds, Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds. More so, they prioritise telling everyone online but the parents of the supposed truth, which is arguably of an idiosyncratic nature, kind of similar to, as a small example, Joy Perry. Joy Perry seemed to know a lot about Kurt Wadsworth and the case and possibly being responsible for it, but never directly told the family or got too involved. It was, I decided to reach out online instead. I decided to share the information with no thanks, etc. And then I deleted it all afterwards. So I don't have anything anymore. Why not just directly reach out to the family like how a normal person would do? Why reveal all this new breaking news online before you do it privately in the background? Maybe because it's not true, but you want your 15 minutes of fame, possibly. Anyway, I do understand that there are some genuine people present. For example, those from my channel and from afar. For example, Weezer, Glorindellen, and other people too. For example, Weezer trying to reach out to the likes of Candice Cooley about key points such as the Jubilee truck seen leaving Grainshed property after 3 p.m. on the 28th of May 2022, etc. But unfortunately, it was ignored, brushed aside by family members. Right? And there's been some people that have reached out on the Facebook page about sharing their condolences or that they've experienced things similar, and it's been blanked by certain family members. For whatever reason, it happened. It's unfortunate, right? So some efforts have been made by key people out there, some locals and some not so local. They've reached out and they've been ignored. What more can they do? But at least there was more effort done there than all the other experts that just talk, but they don't seem to reach out to the family. And those that may have or received it from the family, why can't the original source reveal it themselves to establish that consistency, right? Understandably, at times, evidence can be hard to obtain. Right? It's not always possible to get a hold of in general. Though, at least from my perspective, my rule of thumb is, if multiple humans can reach the same conclusion, or at least knowledge of truth, without any biased influences between one another, there could be truth within it during the discussions. It's a start, it's a beginning. At the end of the day, there are exceptions. But in general, hopefully people understood this post by me. You want to read it out to yourself. You want to spend some time analysing my text. You're welcome to do so. It's available on my community page. But I just wanted to share this with you, right? Was there any other examples that needed to be mentioned? There could be a lot of examples of supposed truths and things being corrected. But like with the gun and the key fob, I don't remember it being cleared up by Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, or changed. As a matter of a fact, I actually looked back at past interview back in 2022. It wasn't the first interview, it was a bit later on East Idaho News. Nate Eaton with Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, talking about updates on the boots, key fob, gun, vehicle, etc. in the early days. And Justin Rounds himself, an individual in which third-party experts have said that Justin knows exactly what happened with the gun and key fob and who was responsible for it. That supposedly Dylan's friend and his brother got to the trailer before others, that they took the gun, key fob away, but they went to Larry Rounds, the grandfather of Dylan Rounds. Then Larry may have told him off, cleaned the items down of evidence so it didn't trace back to them, and then return it back to the trailer. That's what the experts have said, and the experts have said Justin Rounds already knows about it. Do you remember that? Do people remember that? I've seen it extensively over time, okay? These experts saying that's what happened and Justin Rounds knows. But not once did anyone mention about Candice Cooley knowing. Breakdown in communication, right? Well, at least from the interview that I looked at, word for word, none of that was mentioned by Justin Rounds or Candice Cooley. And it was never mentioned afterwards. Never mentioned at all. What the experts have claimed, Justin Rounds, Candice Cooley haven't talked about publicly. The story they've stuck with is, got there, gun key fob missing, where is it? 1st, 2nd of June, items returned back one after another over a period of 2 days on the countertop in the same position. The gun found there, unclipped, and then the key fob returned as well on different days. Okay? Justin Rounds did mention, though, Dylan's brother and Dylan's friend. But how it was worded by Justin Rounds was that they got there after. And when they got to the trailer, they announced that, oh, the items are there. Not that they've gone or that they've gone there early to take them away, but no, they've got there and announced that, oh, the items are there. Now, that might not be enough. Humans may not believe me. Don't worry. I'll play you the clip right now, word for word, of what Justin Rounds said himself, which goes completely against what the experts have stated about Justin knowing who truly was responsible.
So when we went to Dylan's farm, we were specifically looking for his guns. That was his guns and Dylan. 2 things, that was it. So we walked in the camper, Justin and I both walked in, go through it all. On his bathroom sink was his gun case. No gun in it, opened it, it's got the foam, nothing, opened the medicine cabinet. The next day, his sister Justin's sister cleans out the bathroom for Karen to use. No gun. She sets her Clorox wipes right there. Next day, pistol, laying there with the clip out of it. Broad daylight where we'd all looked.
So sometime overnight, you're saying someone entered and put the gun there?
Yep. Next day, okay, so at this point, box elder is there. They're taking pictures. Next day, the key fob comes back, same exact location. Somebody was putting his stuff back. And at this point, box elder is still not saying this is a crime scene, something's going on out here. Nothing. People are everywhere. They do nothing about it.
So did you all find the gun and the key fob?
It was my son and Dylan's friend.
Yeah.
That walked in the trailer and said, oh, it's here.
Yeah.
I don't even think that they knew it was missing.
No, they didn't even know we were looking for it.
Because they weren't there when we broke the window and were looking.
But you're sure it wasn't there the first time you
Oh,
looked?
absolutely not.
Now, apologies about the length of that, but I wanted to play it to you in its raw format. Because if it was edited, clipped together, people would assume it's fake and you're putting words into other people's mouths. No, what I presented to you was, as it was stated, naturally, no edits done, okay? And if you didn't quite understand it, basically what Justin Rounds was saying was Justin Candice Cooley got there first, and then later Dylan Rounds' friend and brother, Colton Rounds, arrived. So Justin Rounds' Candice Cooley already became aware that the gun of Dylan and eventually the key fob were missing. By the time Dylan Rounds' friend and brother got down to the location and accessed the trailer, they said, oh, the items are there. Basically, they were completely unaware that they were originally missing, which obviously doesn't quite tie in with the alternative story told by the experts who claim that those two guys got there first and took the items away, when what Justin Rounds said wasn't the case. That's how it was worded. That's it. Ever since, that story hasn't really changed. Not once has it been mentioned that those two guys were the ones that were originally present before the family and taken it away, and then later it being returned back by Larry. None of that mentioned at all publicly. None of that mentioned at all by the family. Fast forward onwards. Now, some people can say, well, that's old news. Things have changed since. Okay, things have changed. The truth has come out now. So why can't it be acknowledged by the original source? It's as simple as that. I don't know why people can't grasp or understand it. Experts may know things, may hold the truth, but isn't it always better to hear it from the original source, where those people heard it from, such as with Justin Rounds, such as with Larry Rounds, etc. It's never been talked about publicly. Now, with certain factors, the only alternative perspective would be the family now, or with time, learnt about who truly was responsible, okay? Whether it be at the time of that interview I showed to you then or later, and they've chosen not to reveal the actual truth and stuck with the original story, the fake story, that somebody else was responsible. Why? Family protecting one another. It's a normal thing to do. You don't want to publicly say that, oh, those people took the stuff away and were responsible, because it deflects away from the criminal or the suspects, right? It reflects back onto the family interfering with evidence, tampering with it, and that's a bad look, isn't it? It's a bad look on the family. So when you do learn about the truth and who's actually responsible, then normally it would be keep quiet, don't talk about it publicly, stick to the original story, looking out for one another. Okay. But do you see the complications that can come with that? That these third-party experts have come out the woodworks and have revealed the true story, and have even quoted where it came from or who knew about it. Well, that would be seen as a bit of a conflict of interest and a conflict in trust, because if these third-party experts have been in contact with Justin Rounds and other family members, and the truth has been discussed in the background, And you'd think an agreement was made to keep quiet, and these third-party experts have revealed the truth since, but the family members haven't stepped up to confirm it. It goes either one of two ways. Either it's made up, like how we said originally, or someone's exposing the other individual, and there's a lack of trust, stabbing the people in the back. And that can lead to further problems itself escalating, right? At the end of the day, what I'm saying is, experts come along. They know a lot, and they correct many things. Even such as a simple thing as Dylan Rounds never made it to the Grainshed property. Never corrected, was it? The original story, and it still stands to this day by both Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds and Karen Rounds and Larry Rounds, etc., that Dylan got to the gate of the Grainshed property and then made a call at about 6:51 a.m. A call to the grandmother Karen Rounds. And yet these experts are saying that a call never happened. It was a text message. So explain to me why Candice Cooley says it was a call. Explain to me why Karen Rounds says it was a call when she was on the receiving end of it. Explain to me why Justin Rounds, the person that everybody looks up to and the experts are in contact with, why does Justin Rounds also refer to it as a call made, not a text?
Dylan had said, Dylan had called my mom at roughly around the gate.
Yes.
Is where the phone pinged. Right after that, he called Brenner.
And once again, you could say, well, it's old information. Things have changed since. Well, once again, no corrections were made, were they? Not since. Never. So it's getting nowhere, is it? Not a good look, is it? Now, in response to the example of biological matter being found in the Grainshed property, never talked about openly by the family, nor the documents, court documents to Brenner, whatever, nor media outlets, articles, never talked about. Who are the people that did talk about the supposed bodily fluid in the Grainshed property? The shack lady. Linking back to Candice Howard. Linking back to Candice Cooley. Right. So is that the reality? Is that the truth? That something was found in the Grainshed property? Well, it seems obvious because physically speaking and what we've seen visually, there was a hole present. But exactly for what was found there remains a mystery, or, the specific nature of it. Did Candice Cooley or Justin Rounds ever give an update on it? No. Did they ever directly talk about it themselves publicly? No. So why did third-party people take it upon themselves to do that themselves? Did the original individual that heard it from Candice Cooley or Justin Rounds get the green light by the family to then pass it on to the shack lady, for then the shack lady to pass it on to the general public? Or is it all one big lie? Or is it true, but people have gone behind the backs of the family members? Because something so important like that, surely it would have been talked about publicly, revealed at some point, yet it was never revealed. If it was never revealed or acknowledged, then you would think it's a complete lie and BS. But because on this occasion, we have seen physical evidence to suggest something was recovered there, and on top, Candice Cooley did make a slight reference way back in the past, same interview as the Justin Rounds one, talking about the gun and key fob. Maybe there is truth within it, and I can understand that. But it still falls down to the issue of it was never elaborated, it was never explained, and it was told in such a way that we can't talk about it. We just can't talk about it. Let me show you the proof of that, because this proof could highlight that these third-party experts, the likes of the shack lady and some others in the background, whoever got the information first, have gone behind the backs of Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds and have publicly released sensitive information. Let me play you the original clip.
What is this shed? Has it been searched by law enforcement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know, was anything unusual found in
So
there?
there was some evidence that the FBI found that we've, like I said, we're not going to release.
Did you hear that clearly? It was said so short, no explanation, no depth, no update given ever since. That interview was in 2022 and no update was ever provided. Even when Heavy D did his interview with Candice Cooley just in rounds in the Grange shed, those chairs, the lawn chairs, what Candice Cooley just in rounds were sitting in, were just in front of the hole. The camera never panned round to the hole. No mention was ever mentioned about that hole where likely the FBI found evidence. It's interesting, isn't it? It seems like there's a bit of secrecy with that stuff because it's important and sensitive to the case. And like how Candice Cooley said in that interview back then, FBI found evidence in the shed, but it can't be disclosed. It can't be talked about publicly. It's got to be kept private. Okay, fair enough. That's understandable. But then what gives the right for these third-party people like the Shack Lady and some others to talk about specifically a form of biological matter, right? Going into some further depth as to what was found at the hole and that the hole is responsible for the stuff being retrieved from. Candice Cooley never went into that detail publicly. So how do these third-party people know exactly then? Maybe conversations in the background, okay. But if Candice Cooley at the time was saying it can't be talked about publicly and it can't be revealed, like the FBI, they've got to keep it a secret. What gives them the right for these third-party people to come on YouTube and then reveal it? Isn't that going behind Candice Cooley's back? Isn't that actually causing harm to the case? Okay? There's legal reasons why certain evidence can't be talked about or presented to the general public. And yet these experts come on in, right? Not tied to the case and reveal it all. That's going behind people's backs. That's actually harming the case, right? And if at the end of the day, some of these experts say, well, we were just assuming that it was biological matter, that it's an example of what could have been found. Poor language, because all these people word it as if it did happen and that this was found and that this is the reality and that this did come from that person. And yet publicly, it never has done. Do you see how much of a mess this is? So I just wanted to provide to you those clips, evidence and proof of the original story, which does not correlate to what all these experts are claiming and stating, despite some of these experts, or these experts in general on some of these issues, claiming that the family know about them. And yet it's never been cleared up since or corrected publicly. So, I don't know. I genuinely don't know how more simple I can make this. Okay, I do hope, right, people are listening and watching, because for a while, okay, not been as focused, but right now this is a serious issue, okay? A serious issue that does need some attention and requires eyes and ears on this video. Be sure to rewind back if you did miss out. If you need to catch up, very important, be sure to share this video, because, you know, I said it can't be worded any more clearer, right? Experts, people that are coming on in, YouTube channel creators or not, mainly not creators, just commenters, audience members, and then some may start a channel, but most won't. But they come on in to different places and share their story in text or maybe an interview. They claim to know it all, and they say that some of the information, if not most, was received from key individuals out there. Okay. But we've got to take these third-party people, we've got to take their word for it on behalf of somebody else. To hear it straight from the horse's mouth is the best way forwards and the most practical way. The best resolve right now would be if all these experts, everything that they've stated, gone against the original story, right? And had their own narrative, which is supposedly the truth. They say what they say, okay. If that can all be backed up by the original sources, the family members, and it was made all public and revealed right here, right now, and it correlates to these experts, there is consistency, reliability, and a form of validity. That's good. It would be more believable, right? Has it happened 2 years on? No. What about all the interviews Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds have appeared in? Not once corrected. That's great communication, right? So either it's all bullshit and made up, or there is a breakdown in communication. Non-negotiable, that's it, right? From my perspective, I'll listen to this person and I'll listen to that individual. I'm not going to censor them. I'm not going to block them. I'll listen. But I find it hard to believe. And the only moment I will believe in it is when it's backed up by the original source. Something that has never happened yet. That's not my problem, is it? We need consistency. We need it to be reinforced, right? Back in the Kenny Veach case, the days there, I could come up with a point, a theory, an idea. Is it enough? No. But with time, it's backed up with additional points of views thinking the same way. It's a start. Remember that key line from that post, it's a start. And then with time, gravitated, brought in more, the evidence, the material, the proof, the footage, the photos, the text messages from the original source or a new person coming on in. And it all knitted together. It didn't have to solve the entire case. It could have just been a small point or debunked something. But it came together as one. There is a severe disconnect within the Dylan Rounds case. Third-party representatives speaking on behalf of the family or those that knew Dylan, it's not strong enough as a form of evidence or being able to believe in it. The original source needs to step up. There's been enough opportunities over the years, and it's just not happened. Not a good sign, is it? Maybe the original story was the truth. That might get people's backs up, but tough shit. If other points haven't been reinforced, they've not been reinforced, so they can't be believed in, and up to a point they're pending. That's all I see it as. People will say all that matters is when it gets to trial, and then they go through the documents and the important information. Okay. So you could argue all the other talk from now on is a load of bullshit and a waste of time. Yeah. But not mine. Because like with today's video, we're looking at directly what Candice Cooley has said. The insider knowledge, supposedly. Comparing and contrasting to the past as well, right? You can hear it from one side, an outsider. Is it believable enough? Probably not. You can hear it from one side, from an insider. Is it believable enough? Most of the time, yeah. Just imagine if you could hear it from both an insider and outsider's perspective and it matched together without any biasness. That would be perfection. But it does not happen, does it? Oh, but it has elsewhere when it's come to me with other cases. Says a lot, right, doesn't it? So, all I can say is, any resistance on this video, any resistance from my community post, tough shit, non-negotiable. They have a problem. I don't. I said I can't explain it any more clearer. I've outlined it too. Okay? There's really nothing more that can be said. Other people seem to fall for it very easily. Well, there we go. I'm not. You don't have to demonstrate internalization, but you can demonstrate a form of compliance going along with it and just listening until the original source reveals it themselves as well. But that just hasn't happened. And take in mind, I've looked at almost all the interviews over time and I've done the analysis of them. From No Thanks to East Idaho News, Idaho, and some others too. And not once were they corrected with the points made from the experts. Never. Ever since, the experts have took it upon themselves to right the wrongs. Just not enough substance, not enough evidence, not enough proof. I don't believe it. I can't trust it. I'll listen, but I can't trust it. Simple as. If it's reinforced by family at some point, okay, good. If it's reinforced in the court documents, even better. But for over 2 years, it's been like this, and it's been ongoing. And it hasn't changed, and it hasn't improved, right? So all these experts and wannabe experts, you get your feathers ruffled, or you get into a bit of a tiff, you get angry, you get annoyed, frustrated by this. Tough shit, okay? We're being realistic here, and we're demonstrating common sense. Third-party representative, weak in evidence, weak in reliability, weak in validity when there's no foundations present to show for it. Okay? So, that's basically it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Feel free to share the video and spread awareness. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.